This is my top-down shooter game, and this is a 3D model of an enemy robot that I made for it. Since it is the only 3D model that I have, I was also using it as the player character, but it is time to replace it with a proper humanoid model. I am a AAA game developer who makes indie games in free time, and this is episode 5 of my devlog. First I tried making a human 3D model in Blender, but I don't really have enough 3D skills, so I kinda failed. The good thing, however, is that with Unity's humanoid avatars, I can use a placeholder 3D model for now, and it will be very easy to replace it later on. I tried a couple of ready-to-use asset packs with humanoid characters, and I decided to go with the starter assets from Unity. It contains a simple humanoid 3D model, logic for movement, and simple animations and animation graph setup. My plan is to take my character's code, take Unity's character's code, combine them and hopefully end up with a working player character with proper animations. I started by changing the camera from the third person to top-down view, which is what my game uses. I added both my character and Unity's character to the same scene and replaced my robot with the placeholder humanoid. As you can see, there are a few bugs. For example, the character is kinda floating. That is because the collider is not aligned with the model, but that's an easy fix, I just adjust the collider a little bit. Next I attached the animation logic from the Unity's asset to my character. Now I wanna make the character rotate to look at the mouse cursor. No, not like that, let's fix that. Once that was done, I realized that Unity's asset only has animations for going forward by default, so I downloaded this other asset pack that has all those cool animations, and before I touch them to my character, let's talk about Unity's animation blending. Right now my character is set up in a way that it has 3 animations: idle, walk and run, and based on the character's speed, Unity blends between those 3. At first I thought I would need to somehow have multiple animation blends, but then I discovered that Unity already has a solution for this: 2D blending, which allows me to blend animations based on 2 values: speed on the forward-backward axis and speed on the left-right axis. Essentially this means that I have a 2-dimensional space where the character's speed is represented as a point, and based on where this point is, Unity blends animations between every animation that I have added. Now I think it's looking very cool, so let's move the character back to the main level. There is a problem. When I combined Unity's character controller with my code, it changed how the character interacts with physics, which causes, well, this. It's happening because enemies are very dumb right now, and they're just moving towards the player no matter where the player is. So if the player is in the air, the enemies just keep pushing higher and higher. To fix that, the first thing I did is I made it so that enemies can only move when there is ground or other enemies below them. And while this helped a little bit, it didn't solve the problem. I'm now getting this weird behavior, which I guess looks kinda cool, but it doesn't make much sense and it doesn't fit my game really well. It mostly only happens when the player jumps on top of enemies. Now I could of course solve this problem by pushing the enemies to the sides when the player is above them, or coming up with some other way to disable this weird behavior, but I think it's just too much effort. The easiest solution is to remove the jump button. That's right, jumping is now banned from my game. This is a no jump zone. Go jump somewhere else. Now I really love that the player can get absolutely buried under dozens of enemies, but you can't really see what's going on when that happens. To fix that, I found this outline effect on Asset Store. I think it looks very cool, so I bought it and applied it to the player's character. So the player's character can now move around and it looks pretty cool. But remember, I'm making a top-down shooter game, so we need animations for shooting. At first I tried to use this aiming animation, but I quickly realized that I need a more customizable solution. In my previous devlog I made it so that the robot's head is looking at where the mouse cursor is. It would be really cool to reuse this logic for aiming, but unfortunately for humanoid animations it doesn't work, because it uses a skeleton and the skeleton is locked when an animation is playing. So I can't really make a character aim at some custom point. Except I can, because there is a thing called animation rigging. Animation rigging is a set of tools that allows you to adjust animations in real time with different constraints. So basically it does the same thing as my custom solution for a robot, but more and better. After playing with it for a few hours, yes, really a few hours, it wasn't working properly for the longest time, I finally figured out how to apply it to my case. I rotate the humanoid's spine, chest, arm and head to look at the desired point, which in this case is the mouse position. I also added this placeholder gun, and now let's see it all in the game. I think it looks very good. Now, I only want the player's character to behave like this when the aim button is pressed. By default, when the aim button is not pressed, it should always face the movement direction. So I basically have two different states for the character, aiming and not aiming, and I smoothly switch between them by adjusting the weights of animation rigging. This is the final result. Look at how smooth it is, it turned out so much better than I expected. My game is starting to look like an actual game, I'm so happy. Now the last thing I have for this devlog is a question. It is a question to you, my dear viewer. What would you like to see in next episodes of the devlog? I'm working very hard on each of them, and your feedback would be greatly appreciated. Is there anything you would like to know about my game or about how I work on it? Or maybe you have any suggestions? Please write a comment with your thoughts. And also, you know how it works, you can subscribe if you like it, but if you don't, well, don't. And that's all I have for today. Thank you for watching and have a great day.